Yep, it's true. You probably saw the article. For 2025, the Jeep Wrangler with the Hemi 392 engine will be back on sale. After telling everybody that it was the last time ever, final edition, you'll never get another one.
He's a liar.
Yes, they're coming out with it again. Why? Well, let's just be real. Let's have a little honesty moment here. They need to sell as many damn cars as they can. They can't sell anything, and the V8s can make them a bunch of money. And the reality of it is this is going to be a $101,000 Jeep, and all they got to do is take all the old Hemi engines they got laying around. If they got anything sitting in storage, any parts laying around, and they got to get rid of that stuff. And I think this is the perfect way for them to do it. But are they going to bring it back in the new Charger? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no unless there's two things that happen. Two very important things. They both don't need to happen. One can happen, or the other can happen, or both can happen. And then I will tell you right now, there is a strong likelihood, especially if Carlos Tavares ends up getting ousted at some point, that they do bring it back. But because of one thing, it's not coming back. We gotta own that there's most likely it's not coming back unless these two things happen. So stick with me for a minute while we talk about that. Because the reason why they're able to do it one more year is, yes, they probably have tons of leftover stuff. But let's just assume that's the case. But the main reason is because of the CAFE standards. For a truck, for a light truck, the CAFE standards are more liberal than they are for a car. And the way I'll try to explain it in the way that my small brain understands it, because I got to tell you, it can get very complicated. There's some great videos. I'll even throw some links in my description below that you can watch to dig even deeper and understand it. But the bottom line is, the smaller the car, the more MPGs it's going to need to have, the more gas mileage it's going to have. So a really small, let's say, remember that little Geo Metro thing? A really tiny car like that with a 3-cylinder engine in it, under the CAFE standards, come 2026, right now it's still pretty high, but come 2026, the number's going to go to the moon, and they're going to have to get a massive miles per gallon, very likely unattainable, even with a little teeny tiny 3-cylinder engine in it. But if they build a bigger car and a bigger truck, or they put bigger engines in these bigger cars, bigger trucks, the average miles per gallon can be higher. It's still getting compressed significantly, which is why in 2026, it's going to go to the moon based on the current administration's rollbacks of the prior administration's rollbacks. So there was one president that reversed the Obama CAFE standards. And then there was another president, trying not to be political here, another president that reversed that president's rollback of Obama's CAFE standards. And then recently, you all probably heard that the current administration dialed back the CAFE standards a little bit, because realizing that some things are absolutely impossible. We will all be literally riding bicycles, which they would love us to do, and electric ones at that. So he dialed it back, and then all the tree huggers lost their ever-loving mind.
How dare you?
But where are they going to go? What are they going to do? They're going to change parties? No, because it's going to be way worse and way better for us. So they went nuts, but they accepted that, okay, it is what it is. But the current administration had to dial it back a little bit, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still significantly worse than it was under the prior administration. Fair enough? No politics here. I'm just telling you the truth. All of it's, you can read about it and find out. So, which leads us to a situation where they can do this one more year with this Jeep, because it is a truck of sorts, and it has a larger footprint than a car. It's larger, it's heavier, and they can charge a lot of money for it to try to absorb some of the fines that they'll probably still get hit with, and which is what they're doing, which makes the car ridiculously expensive. And you know, when the dealers get a hold of those things, it's going to be even more stupid. But unless two things happen, there's no way that it will come back beyond that. They will exhaust all the engines, but I believe in each year, they're telling the truth. I mean, it kind of needs to be because of the cafe issues, but then with the slight rollback just happened with the current administration, it does open a little bit of a window maybe for them to be able to say, okay, let's go one more year, exhaust our current supply of stuff, try to boost our stock, try to get some sales moving, try to get the hatred to slow down a little bit. Yes, we might end up with some fines from the EPA, and we can see what's going to happen. Because come November, we're going to see where the political environment goes. Which leads me to the two things. One thing is, we get a new president. If we get a new president, regardless of your political affiliation, I am not trying to sway anybody. This is not about politics. This is about cars. I am a dude that loves cars. You ask me who I'm voting for, I tell you, listen, who's going to let me drive a V8? I know, that makes me extremely shallow, but that's my life. I'm simple. I'm a simple plumber's son, man, that happened to make a decent living and figure out a way in this world. But the bottom line is, which dude is going to give me my V8 back? I'm probably voting for that dude. Fair enough? Someone's going to tear me up in the comments that it's selfish and whatever. Save it. You're not going to change my mind, just like I'm not going to change yours. But if that happens, if we end up with a new administration, you can guess which one, I could bet you anything. The very next thing that dude does, 2 minutes after he's the president, is roll it right back to what he did before. And then we get a kick the can situation. And then everybody comes back and realizes that nobody's buying these cars, and capitalism kicks in. And all of a sudden, one manufacturer will go, hey man, we're good. Let's be the first ones back to the market with some V8 trucks and some V8 cars and sell the crap out of them and have another strong run. And that will drive everybody else to do similar things, because if there's a choice of cars, I can buy a V8 truck to tow my boat with, or I could buy a V6 truck to tow my boat with. Which one am I going to choose? All things being relatively equal, I'll pay a little bit more money for the V8. Plus, we know that at some point, interest rates will have to come back down, and they will be able to sell those expensive cars a lot easier. So under that circumstance with the administration, that could change things. But we won't know. And I can tell you, Stellantis doesn't know, Ford doesn't know, GM doesn't know, but I guarantee you, every one of those CEOs, I don't care what political party they belong to before they started making millions of dollars being CEOs, they're all sitting in a room right now going, I don't want to admit it, but, sales kind of suck, and things haven't been going that great in a whole bunch of different areas. Maybe we're kind of good if this other dude gets in. We'll try that out for a little bit, because people will line up to buy their cars again. But what's the other things? The other thing that could happen, that could help, is one thing the EPA will do, and I read, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read this, is when they're figuring out the average miles per gallon for these cars, and then what fines are going to be assessed to these manufacturers for selling these higher horsepower, lower MPG cars, they will factor in the EVs that manufacturer is making and selling, which really is why Ford has had so much success with their Mach-E, offsetting so much of this issue so that they can continue to sell V8s, which is why they sound so brilliant when they get up there and say, we're going to keep selling V8s until we can't do it anymore. I mean, they're not going to say until 2026 or until 2029. As long as people are buying that stupid Mach-E, they're able to use that average to not be fined as badly. How about that? But Dodge screwed up. Stellantis screwed up, because had they come up with one crappy EV, little crappy cheap EV that would have sold like hotcakes, like Ford did with that stupid Mach-E thing, and that all the environmentalists and the planet savers would show up to buy that thing, and they sold tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, who knows, of those EVs. Right now, the Hemi would not be a problem, which means the second thing that would need to happen for them to be able to bring this thing back, bring back the Hemi, would be that stupid Charger EV Daytona would need to succeed. And I think we all know there's no way in hell it's going to succeed. And that explains why they rolled that thing out first. It makes sense because Tavares is so adamant that he's not going to pay the fines. He's not going to pay for carbon credits scam. He's not going to pay for any of this stuff. He's just not going to do it, and he's going to just do EVs. So he launches this EV thing first, hoping that it hits the market and sells like crazy for this next year, and then they roll out their Scat Pack and their RT with the twin turbo inline six, which will still need to meet CAFE standards, and it will be a car. It's a bigger car, which kind of helps them a little bit, but they'll still need to meet them, and they're going to still have some challenges and likely still have some fines, but they need to get their EVs launched. They need to get more EVs out, especially under the Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Chrysler banners. And if they do, then they might be able to sell these twin turbo inline sixes without getting fined, which is why I'm guessing why we didn't get those first, which I believe would have been a better decision, because now they're going to get their asses handed to them trying to sell that EV Daytona first that nobody's going to want, which means the only real way this gets solved is if there's an administration change, or if I and many of you are completely wrong and there is a giant group of people out there that are just waiting for that Daytona EV to come out. So here's where I'm at. I'm going to push the hell out of that Daytona EV. I hope there's a whole bunch of just sweetheart, tree-hugging, lovable people sitting back, can't wait to get those things to plug them into their walls and to help get the average miles per gallon down enough that maybe they drop a Hemi into the new Charger Daytona body. And I know some of you hate it. I don't hate it. I think it's actually, we needed a change. We needed a technology change. We needed an interior change. We needed a lot of things. I think the Challenger should come back. I did hear that they renewed the CUDA name, trademark, so who knows, something could happen down the road. But I think all that is them saying, if there's an administration change and we have to switch and we need to start pumping some stuff out that people want, then we're going to have all these things ready and able to start building and go forward. So for those reasons, for all of that reason, I think we shouldn't get our hopes up here. They're going to screw over all the Jeep people thought they were buying the last one. But for anybody who bought that Jeep with a 392 for $100 grand and with markups and everything else, thinking, and I've said this a million times in videos, thinking it's going to go up in value, it's a good investment, I'm sorry, man. You got to just, I don't know, slam your head in the door as many times as you can until whatever is screwing your brain up just gets fixed, jogs loose, and realize buy these things to have fun in them. That's all they're for. They're frankly disposable cars. You're going to drive them until they start breaking too much, and then they're going to end up in the crusher. But they are going to be so much fun in the meantime. And a 392 Jeep, I don't know what you're going to do with that thing. I would love to watch you when you go off-road, because I think those things are going to be turtled constantly, upside down, all over the place. But it doesn't matter. It's pretty badass, and I did drive one, and it was pretty awesome. So, but we're not going to see it past 2025 unless those two things happen. And you guess which one needs to happen. But this is not a political advertisement. Whatever happens, I'm going to keep buying V8s. I might just have to buy used cars. Who knows? I'm just not buying any new stuff. Maybe I'll buy that twin turbo inline six, but who knows? That thing's already sounding like it's having all kinds of problems. So with that, everybody, I'll shut up now. I'll end this video. Please comment below. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. Correct anything I said that's wrong, but I'm thinking, for the most part, my rudimentary way of explaining, I'm making some sense. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.